All right, these are my favorite machines. I love doing this range because one of the machines that I'm going to recommend is actually the one that I have at my house. See if you can guess which one it is. Let's get into what coffee machine to buy, $3,000 to $6,000 budget range. I'm Ryan, your coffee coach. Let's check it out. Okay, I want to make an amendment to my last video, which is what coffee machine to buy, $1,000 to $3,000, because I did omit one accidentally. I was talking about the range of L'Elite and how great they are and how many different models they have in each price, but I forgot one of my favorite, which was the L'Elite Mara X. And that just falls just shy of about $1,700 to $2,000, depending if you get the flow control. It's a brilliant machine. As I said, L'Elite are a fantastic Italian manufactured machine that's just been bought out by Breville. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, whether Breville technology filters down into L'Elite or the other way around, and hopefully that both brands benefit from this partnership. With L'Elite Mara X, it's one of the beautiful looking machines. I think you can get it in 3 different colors, a stainless steel, timber handles, and the steam knob. Also, you can get it in a black and powder white version as well, with different accents, a light timber or a dark timber. So they look beautiful depending on what type of home you have. Absolutely gorgeous. Now it comes packed with features like a PID, but it's their L'Elite's particular PID. So it's not a standard PID where you can change the temperatures exactly. It has 3 sets, like a high, medium, low. And it also uses a heat exchange. So this is the single boiler of the brew as a heat exchange to adjust that temperature and stabilize it as well. So it also has a brew and steam priority setting. So depending on if you want to just use it for brewing, black coffees, or if you actually want to use it for steaming milk, you can activate the priority and change it from a steam to a brew only, and that just helps power consumption as well. Of course, if you check out the video here with the budget of $1,000 to $3,000, then you'll also see all the other E61, and what I mean by E61, it's the type of group head it uses. With E61 comes a mechanical pre-infusion. So that really helps if you want to play around with a little bit of pre-infusion. It's a bit of an advanced technique, so it might not be for everyone, but unlike a lot of other machines that have to specifically feature pre-infusion, all E61 type machines have that mechanical pre-infusion, which is not quite a pure pre-infusion, but certainly gets the job done. So the L'Elite Mara has that functionality built into it as well. So the pros for the L'Elite Mara is that it just looks gorgeous, especially if you have it in a powder coat, a white or a black with those timber accents. Even if you get it in the stainless steel chrome with the timber handles, it looks beautiful. You can opt for the option to get you the flow control, which is a little controller on the top. It costs about $600 more US, and that gives you, or between $300 and $600 more depending on where you buy it. And that gives you the ability to adjust the flow and really play around with pressure profiling, not pressure profiling as such, but a flow profiling. And that really just gives you an advanced technique on these machines, which is brilliant if you want to start delving into getting the best extractions out. Its size as well, I think, is one of the pros for it, because it is very slim for the machines of the dual boiler size. Normally they take up a fair amount of room. This is quite slim comparatively, and it's quiet as well, because even though it has a vibration pump, it actually is a lot quieter than a lot of vibration pumps around. And I think that really would benefit people if you're trying to make coffees in the early mornings when you don't want to wake up your partner and things like that. You know, not everyone loves vibration pumps, but this is a particularly good one, and it helps that it's nice and quiet. I think as well, for a lot of these E61 machines, they can be a bit daunting. There's a bit of a steep learning curve. However, I think the Mara is a fantastic ease of use for those people just starting out. Like, this would be one that I could really recommend as a first-time home barista purchase. Now, for the cons, there's limited boiler capacity. So even though it is a dual boiler, it's not going to be as powerful as some of the other dual boilers on the market. So that's something to consider if you're going to use it in like a roastery or somewhere where you might have to make 20 to 30 coffees really quickly in a short amount of time. And one of the other cons is the full PID control. So even though it does give you temperature stability, it doesn't let you set the temperature down into the Celsius or Fahrenheit like a lot of the other PIDs do. So a small compromise. For what it's worth, it's still a fantastic machine, and for most people, you're not going to be using PID to its full extent unless you're playing with light roast, dark roast, middle roast, and all different ones in between. So don't feel like that you have to get a full PID control system. this machine will certainly cover you if you're making flat whites, cappuccinos, and it's really only if you want to go deep diving into espresso machines that you'd need to get a full PID. Overall, I reckon the Mara X, as a lot of the Leylit ones are, fantastic. I really rate it highly, so I would give it a 9 out of 10. So these really are my favorite budgets because this is where you can really take your coffee to the next level. If you're buying your machine for the first time, this is probably not the video that you should watch because 1 to 3K will get you everything that you need to start out making great coffee, cappuccino, latte, flat whites, long blacks, short blacks, whatever you like, without going full deep dive into the espresso world. So if you have the budget, of course, you might as well get the best on markets, but these are more advanced, and really the difference between the 1 to 3K and the 3 to 6K, aside from the appliance brands that sit in the 1 to 3K, is that these machines are just more advanced and have more manual controls and have more features and functions and can be used in a commercial setting, not just at home. So that's something to take into consideration depending on what you're going to use it for. But generally speaking, this would be the range for your second purchase. So once you've already had your machine for a while and you got used to making coffee at home, then you want to step it up. That's why you'd get one of these machines in this budget range. So while we're on the topic of Leylit, I would be remiss if I didn't mention probably one of the best Leylit. It's like the ultimate home barista. I think this is life goals for a lot of home baristas. It's the Leylit Bianca version 3. It's another dual boiler, very similar to the Mara X. It comes with a flow control option as well, but it's such a beautiful machine. I think everyone loves this machine because it's so versatile, as well as looking stylish in that same E61 dual boiler type machine. It has a lot of functionality. It has full control over the PID. Unlike the Mara X, this is a full system. So it really gives you the ability to hone in on those temperatures and profile them along with the flow controller to really experiment and push your extractions to the ends of the universe. And that's what I really love about Leylit, is that they have one for every single person. There's not one sector of the market that they forget about. And unlike some of the other brands that just have one at a low end and maybe one at a really high end, they've focused on every sector. Now it has a rotary pump instead of a vibratory pump, and that allows it to be plumbed in as well. And they're normally a little bit quieter. And I think from a longevity point of view, these machines really last. The rotary pumps have very little issues with them. A lot of the NE engineers that are watching this can attest to that. So if you're looking to get your machine plumbed in at home and have pumped water straight and never having to worry about running out during an extraction, this is perfect for you. Now the option is there, but you don't have to use it. It comes with a nice big water tank and allows you to fill it up. And of course, it has all of the walnut wood features on there, so you can have it in the white and the black and the stainless steel, looking gorgeous. And it comes with a flow control paddle, which just looks gorgeous on the top. It just really gives you that flexible control. So as an optional kit, you can get it on the Mara, and with the Leylit Bianca, you can get it all coming in one, and it's just fantastic for those who want to experiment and take their espresso extractions to the next level. It's about $3,300 US, so it's not super cheap, but it's obviously on the low end of this budget. And I think probably one of the best machines, bang for buck, that you can get in this price bracket. So if you're looking to jump up this level and really take a plunge into the espresso world, then this is probably the machine that I would recommend highly. I give it a 10 out of 10 just because there's not much that you can fault about this particular Leylit Bianca. Really, the only cons that I have against this machine are very, very minor, and I'm nitpicky. Like, it is a heavy machine. It probably weighs about 25 kilos. And that's a lot to lug around. This is not something that's portable. It's not something that you're going to take camping with you. So that's something to play in mind. It's really, you put it in one place and you're going to leave it there for as long as you can. Other cons are that it's a little bit longer to heat up. Because it's dual boiler, I think they should be faster. A lot of the times the dual boilers are faster. This one, because of the size of it, it takes about 20 to 25 minutes to fully build up pressure enough and heat up all the metal inside for you to use it. So just keep that in mind. So next on the list is a brand that I haven't talked about in many of the other videos, but it's a favorite of mine called Bazzera. They've been around a very long time, very well-renowned Italian manufacturer. Well, this particular machine, it comes in two different types. There's the manual and the dose. It's called the Bazzera Duo or the Bazzera Matrix. Now they're very similar. Mostly the only differences are to do with the aesthetics. The Matrix has sort of like LED light sides and kind of looks like a disco machine. Can be very funky. A lot of people are turned off by it. The Bazzera Duo is more of a traditional classic Italian style coffee machine. Probably if you don't want anything too crazy, you'd stick with the Duo. And in terms of functionality, very much the same. Price-wise, they sit around that $3,200 US. They both have the options to customize the side panels as well. So depending on what your preference is, what your house looks like, you can really customize them. These are luxurious looking dual boiler machines. And of course, being dual boilers means you can steam milk and make espresso simultaneously, endlessly most of the time. And these are big, heavy-duty machines that could be used in a light commercial setting. So let's say you're a little school cafe where you're trying to build up the espresso market there for the first time. This is the sort of machine that can handle that. However, I always recommend if you're going into a commercial setting where it could grow quite quickly, make sure that you do look at two group machines, because just having the ability to do 4 lots of coffees at once just makes that time shorten much better than having to wait for one coffee to extract. Even doing milk at the same time, you're still waiting that 30 seconds for a double shot coffee, which might be one person's coffee, or it might even be half their coffee if they want more shots in. Now, the Bazzera Matrix and the Duo, they both have a touchscreen display, really cute display that shows a lot of the temperature settings. It has a built-in PID. It has pre-infusion, and you can play around with the settings. You can play around the shot counters, I believe, inside there. And it has a couple of automated pre-infusion. So unlike a lot of the E61s, which are a mechanical pre-infusion and you have to manually hold it, this you can set on the touchscreen. You can make the distance and the time, have a pause. You can have it go automatically back flush as well. So that gives it a different type of setting. All of that can be controlled through the touchscreen on the little screen built into the machine. Not enough people talk about the Bazzera brand, but it is fantastic. And in terms of reliability, all of these machines, you're looking at 20 plus years. So you don't have to worry so much about that unless you get a lemon. And there are two types for both of these machines. There's a manual and a dose. The dose is a programmatic, so it's a volumetric doser. So you just select, do I want 45 mil out? Do I want 30 mil out? Do I want 60 mil out? Whatever it is that you're aiming for, you program it in there, and it's got 3 programmable plus a manual, and that can allow you to dose out the exact amount of extracted liquid from your coffee. So, and the manual is obviously, it doesn't have that function, and I think they range between $100 difference between the two. So the pros are for these machines are they exceptional quality control over all parts of your espresso, apart from completely pressure profiling it itself. These really do well, and for the price point being at the very bottom end of that $3K budget, really good, solid machine that's not talked about enough. The other pros are that it can customize the wall side panels, and if you want to juice it up with those LED lights, really nice. It's a conversation starter for any time people walk into your kitchen and see the blue lights or the purple lights glowing on the side of your machine. And then having the touchscreen display able to adjust all your settings just on the front there makes it quite nice, rather than having to dig in underneath the machine or a side panel or an app or something like that. So that's quite handy as well. Now, there really aren't many cons for it, which was one of the great things about these Bazzera machines. Obviously, there's a steep learning curve. As I said before, this is probably not your first home machine, but certainly worth it if you wanted to go there and you got the budget. Other cons for it is probably that it's a little bit expensive for lacking some of the features compared to, say, the Leylit Bianca. But other than that, can't say anything bad about this machine. I think it's beautiful, and I wish more Bazzeras would be on the market and more people understood how great this machine actually is. So I give the Duo an 8 out of 10, and I give the Matrix a 9 out of 10, just because I think if you've got the guts to pull off an LED lit panel in your home, I think all the credit to you. That's why I give you the extra mark. Okay, here's another brand that I've talked about in previous videos, Profitec. Profitec, fantastic combination of German and Italian manufacturing and engineering. So you have that precision, you have that experience in the espresso realm, and they've put together a couple of dual boilers that are fantastic, And I've got two that I'll talk about. One is the 700 series, and that has two models. There's a 700 straight, and then there's the drive. Now the drive just has a few more extra functions like the flow control, pressure profiling, and the 700 doesn't have that. But other than that, these are identical machines, and maybe they cost you a couple of $100 difference. They both sit at that $3,200 US range, depending on where you buy it. And with Profitec, like in the other lower ones, like the Go is particularly great. The 400 series, fantastic. The 700 is a brilliant dual boiler packed filled with heaps of features. So what are those features? Well, interestingly, this is an E61 group head, but it's a dual boiler. A lot of the dual boilers go away to a saturated head or to other types of technologies, but this one is really interesting because you have that classic E61 shape, but with the dual boiler in it. And that's why Profitec are really good for this, because they do blend those two realms between the traditional and the modern. Not only that, it has a full PID system, which allows you to control the temperature right down to the degree, Fahrenheit and centigrade. And also has the ability to directly plumb in your machine as well, so you get that direct line of water. On top of that, with the drive model, you have the ability to pressure profile and flow control, and that just gives you that extra level of control, experimentation, anything that you like. If you really want to take your espresso to the next level, that's the machine for you. So the pros of this machine is that it's really easy to use. The steam one is particularly nice. I really love the steam and the ability to control the steam pressure, steam temperature as well, so you can really blast it out. But also these have really nice steam handles and steam knobs, but they're spring loaded, so you don't have to like wind it 50 times just to turn it. It's just a half turn, and that gives you full pressure on the steam. It's really easy to use. There's a bit of a learning curve, and I think the only cons I really have with this machine is that for the price point that it sits at, it's pretty plain. It doesn't have a lot of different options there. So I would like to see them bring out a heap of different options, colors, ranges and stuff like that, which would make it a lot more palatable for that price point. So one of the great things about the drive is the flow control. And that's the thing that really sets it apart from the 700 on its own. And this gives you the ability to really play around with your extractions. You can do super short extractions, super long extractions, like 1 minute 42 if you want to do light roast and have it as like a filter coffee. It also gives you the ability to pause after the pre-infusion. So if you want to do a 6-second pre-infusion and then stop for 60 seconds while it sort of brews before adding the pressure, you can do that. So it really gives you that ability to become experimental with your espresso. It doesn't cost a whole much more, like maybe a couple of $100 US, a little bit more to get the drive. So I would certainly, if you're looking at these machines, it's worthwhile investing that couple of $100 more to get that ability, even if you don't use it all the time. This machine also has a great amount of built-in features, like reminds you to backflush, reminds you to change your water filter. It also has an eco mode and 2 programmable wake-up times. So depending on when you know to use it in the morning and maybe in the evening, you can have it automatically come on, start up, heat up for you those 10-15 minutes before you're ready to use it. So these features are really handy. There's a whisper quiet rotary pump, which I think is fantastic for all those people making coffees early in the morning. The flow rate on the profiler can be adjusted from 2.5 right up to 20 grams per second, which is really fast. So almost giving you something not quite as fast as a lever, but very close. Profitec 700, I give it a 9 out of 10. Speaking of levers, that's coming up in the very next machine I'm about to review. Let's check it out. All right, the Profitec Pro 800 is actually a lever machine. And a lot of people are really getting into lever machines now. This is why, again, I love the German-Italian combination, because you're blending both traditional, classic lever-style machines with the modern, all the advanced features that you have on the modern machines. So if any of you have had any experience with lever machines, you'll know of the brand La Pavoni, one of the original inventors of the lever machine. One of the guys that watched the video on the La Pavoni actually commented and gave me some clarity into why the La Pavoni levers are so special, and I think the Profitec can do a similar thing. It can really drop in about 50 milligrams of water straight onto the puck in about a second, which is just unheard of in any other machine. You get that flow rate up to about 28 mil, but you can't get higher than that. So this drops the milliliters of water straight onto the puck, really giving that pre-infusion, really allowing that to bloom before you start extracting it. So that's something to know. with levers, but obviously the lever is its own pressure profiler. So unlike your flow controls, which aren't a true pressure control, the lever one is. Then the ProfitTech Pro 800 gives you that ability to experiment with super long extractions, double extractions, that little flurry. There's so many different ways to extract coffee on a lever machine that it's really open to anyone who wants to experiment and really try crazy new ideas. And that's what the ProfitTech Pro 800 really gives you, that ability to take your espresso to the next level. Now, even though it does have the advanced features like the PID and obviously the pre-infusion and pressure profiling control, you do sacrifice a little bit. This is not a dual boiler machine. This is a single boiler machine, which means it's a little bit harder to do both your milk and your coffee at the same time. It's a sacrifice that you have to make, but most people who are into lever machines aren't drinking it for cappuccinos and lattes. They're really trying to hone in on the espresso side of things, drinking coffee purest form without any milk. So they're not going to worry about having a dual boiler as much as someone who's pumping out tons of cappuccinos. They're not too expensive either. They're about $3,200 US in that range. It's a lot more expensive obviously than your Lapavonis. However, it's a completely different style of machine. The Lapavonis are very manual and very, you have to use your knowledge and your skill sets to rely on getting a great extraction, whereas the ProfitTech gives you some of that advanced features to allow you, it kind of fixes your coffee in a little way. By having that PID, have that temperature stability, you're not having to worry about making sure that your water is too hot or too cold, and you can really play around with everything. So I just feel like if you're going to start delving into lever machines, that this might be a good place to start. There is also an updated version, which instead of having the rotary knobs on your machine, you can actually get the actuators, which just means you get instant full pressure steam without having to twist. You just knock the lever down and press it off to turn it off. Same with the hot water as well, which kind of makes it really unique. In a lot of the other ways, they have to turn them on, but you don't have as much control over a knob. That's the only difference between having an actuator versus that, so that you can't always finesse it to have half steam pressure blasting instead of full pressure. So I give it a 9 out of 10. I just love these machines. I think you can't really fault them, especially if you're a lever head. This would be a fantastic second option. If you're upgrading from a Lapavoni, this would be a fantastic one. I want to hear from you guys out there who have these machines, who might have upgraded from another machine, how you're finding it now, how you're enjoying having that full control over the pressure. And of course, if you do enjoy these videos, consider subscribing to the channel. I want to build out a whole bunch of these what coffee machines to buy in every different budget. I'll be releasing them midway through the year, specifically for the US, because I know a lot of them go on sale around mid-year, so that might be helpful for you guys. And then I'll do one also for the Australian market, so that this one won't be combined US and Australian pricing, and I'll try and separate them out to have the budgets for each particular country. Let's get back into coffee machines. So next up is ECM Synchronica. And there's a couple of different models here. What I really love about ECM, similar to the other manufacturers, they have little tweaks that you can pay a little bit more. If you want to add the flow control on, there's a little kit that you can purchase as well. All comes built together, but you can just add on that. If you want to add some walnut or some oak, different timbers to your handles and stuff like that, you can add that. If you want to add the different colored side panels, matte black, there's even limited Mercedes AMG edition. If you want to pay a little bit more, about $3,700 for the AMG edition, but it has the classic AMG side panels, the logo, even has carbon fiber handles and accents around it, which makes it look really nice. If you own an AMG Mercedes, you'll definitely want to purchase one of these, and you can check out the full video here. Other than that, it's a pretty standard machine. Like, it's an E61 classic Italian looking machine, but it has all of the features built into it. PID, it has your flow controller, it has a really nice quiet motor which can be directly plumbed in as well. It has a built-in shot timer, although a lot of the times most people are using their scales or a separate timer anyway, so it's not a huge feature there. So the pros of the ECM Synchronica are all the same, doesn't matter if you get the AMG model. They all have the ability to have that flow control. So that's about $200 US more, around that $3,300 price range. But they all work similarly in terms of they're all dual boiler, E61. They all have rotary pumps in them, which are nice whisper quiet motors. And we have the ability to turn the bar pressure on the steam one right up to 2 bar, which is just huge. So if you're doing a huge jug of milk for a lot of people at once, you can push the pressure right up to 2 bar and smash out the milk. It doesn't destroy the milk either. You're still going to be able to get that silky milk. Just means you're going to be able to do this huge volume in a much quicker turnaround time than if you had it on a 1.5 or a 1 bar. Having said that, one of the cons I feel about this machine is that the steam one doesn't always offer speed as well as it's advertised. So you might need to pump up more pressure in order to get your milk done quicker, because it says that it does it really quickly, but sometimes I find that it doesn't always have enough guts to really speed through that milk. Other than that, the really only other con I have is that, and this is a personal preference, is that some people prefer the beautiful non-digital versions of espresso machines, and other people want a few features. And I think Bozera really mix that in well, because they keep that traditional look but add in a really neatly built touchscreen display, but there's nothing on the ECM Synchronica, and that might be an issue for a lot of people who want to have access to the deeper functions and features. Overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. Well, we've actually run out of time. This video could go on for another 40 minutes. However, I want to give you some time to digest the information. So stay tuned for part 2 when I go into even more machines between $3,000 and $6,000. I'm Ryan, your coffee coach. And as always, enjoy your brew.